Hello, GATE aspirants. Today we will be beginning with the topic of urban housing. Now, all of you must be aware that your entire syllabus has been divided into subsections. For example, one section is dedicated to general aptitude, logical reasoning, and all. Next is the common part, that is A part, and then you have B. Now, B is also further divided into B1 and B2, wherein first of all, A is your common part, which has portions or sections or subjects or subtopics of architecture as well as planning. Then B part, there is division. B1 is architecture related subjects and B2 is planning related subjects. Now, when it comes to urban housing, you will find the mention of some few subtopics of urban housing in your A part as well as in your B2 part, that is planning. Now, it becomes very difficult to draw this line between what comes in common and what comes in B2. And what we suggest is you should be prepared for B1 as well as B2, and this decision should be made on the day of the exam. Okay, it is not so that you have to tick a particular section while filling up your forms. So this decision can be taken during your exam. So you should make the most of this particular provision that has been given. So urban housing, we will treat it as a common part and we will be covering all of it. Now you must have observed that a few questions sometimes from B1 comes in A part or B2 comes in A part or vice versa. A few subtopics that have been given in A part comes in B1 or B2. So let's be prepared for everything and let's treat this entire subject of urban housing as a common part. Okay. Now, first of all, we will discuss the importance of this urban housing in exam. Before we begin preparation for any exam, we have to look at what are the subsections under this topic, first of all. Second of all, what kind of questions are usually asked and how many marks of questions are asked from any particular subject. So, as you must be aware, in GATE exam, there are MCQ type of questions, there are MSQ type of questions, that is multiple select, wherein more than one answer can also be true, and you have NAT type of questions. Okay, now MCQ, MSQ as well as NAT questions can be asked from your urban housing topic. NAT is for your numericals wherein you do not get any options but you have to type in your answer. Okay, so having said that, housing topic, from this particular topic you get theory as well as numericals. Theory plus numericals, and you can expect approximately three questions or two to three questions from this in the form of MCQs, match the following NAT, MSQ, numerical, anything. And we can say that a total of around 4 to 6 marks are asked from this. Now, if you go through the previous year question paper, you will see that at least one numerical question has been asked almost every year in your GATE exam. So, we will be practicing a lot of numericals. We will go through all the concepts of numericals and we will cover the entire theory part related to urban housing. Now, this is the official GATE syllabus that has been given to you. Under common part, that is section number 6, housing has been mentioned, under which we cover housing typologies, concepts, principles and examples of neighborhood, residential densities, affordable housing, real estate valuation, etc. Then under part B2 planning, under section B2.1, which is named as regional and settlement planning, under this also you have a part of housing which is starting from here. National housing policies, programs and schemes, slums, squatters and informal housing, standards of housing and community facilities, and housing for special areas and needs. So this entire part we will be covering together. Now, for our easy understanding and so that there is a flow in our entire course, we have created these kind of subsections when it comes to the housing topic. We won't be going with respect to how and where a topic has been mentioned in your GATE syllabus. This gives us a better flow and a better understanding. So I'll just briefly explain you what all we'll be covering. First, urban housing introduction and evolution. What is the relevance of housing? Why do we study housing in the first place? What is its relevance with respect to architecture? And what is its relevance with respect to planning? So housing overall comes under a few part of it, or a few portion of it comes under your architecture part. For example, when you cover FAR calculations, when you cover dwelling unit number calculation, all that part comes under your architecture. And when it comes to the policies, the schemes, the various government programs that are there on a central level or a state level with respect to housing, all this comes under your planning part. Okay, so in introduction and evolution, we will be giving, or we will be discussing housing briefly. Okay, then fundamental terminologies, for example, what is ground coverage, what is built up, what is super built up. Now, all of these terminologies are something as a planner or as an architect you already know of. But it will be very easy if we begin with this particular understanding and then move on to numericals. It will be a good revision and you'll be able to solve these numericals better and faster. Okay, then numerical with respect to FAR. FAR is also called as FSI. Okay, so with respect to this, for example, the ground coverage has been given or the setback has been given, the FSI has been given, or based on this, you have to find out the total built up area that is there. So these kind of questions are usually asked. Then housing classification. Classification as in, for example, for any particular commodity or object, you can classify that under various heads. For example, if I ask you to classify it with respect to the shape, the size, the color, etc. So similarly, with respect to housing also, you can have n number of classifications. For example, what is the typology, how is the build form, how many stories are there, or maybe what kind of material is there, etc. So we will be looking into the classification next. There is numerical based on density. So any area that we talk about, or within a city, there are multiple zones, and each of these zones or wards or neighborhoods, we can identify them in terms of density as well. For example, how dense a place is. We also use the terms with respect to low rise, high density, or high rise, high density, these kind of terms. So what exactly that is and how can we calculate it for a given neighborhood or a township, we will be looking into that. Next, state of housing in India. What is the current condition, as well as we will be looking into how it has evolved, especially after independence. What was the role of the government, how the housing sector or the real estate sector in general has evolved. Next, shortage calculation. Now, assuming that there is going to be some kind of a shortage in housing, we try to calculate the given shortage, and we also try to understand what all are the factors that contributes to this shortage in the housing sector. Next, housing finance. Now, with respect to anything that is getting built or planned or designed on earth using land as a resource, any kind of construction or any kind of development and growth that happens, of course, we need finance for that. We need to look into the fiscal resources for that particular project or for that particular development. Where are we getting the money from? Okay, and who is responsible for this finance? Is it the central government? Is it the state government? Is it some other authority, and so on? So that is something that we will be looking into. Next, housing policies. For example, NHP, NHHP, what were the various kind of policies that were there in India from the beginning till date? Next, dwelling unit calculations. Now, these kind of calculations, when it comes to GATE exam, are usually based on the economic sections. For example, EWS, LIG, MIG, etc. Based on that, we do the dwelling unit calculations with respect to number of dwelling units or with respect to area, so on. Next, schemes, programs, and acts. You must have heard about the Smart City Mission, PMAY, or Amrut. and various other centrally sponsored schemes and programs that are there. We will be specially focusing on the schemes and programs that are currently running, but we will also look into the programs and schemes that have, let's say, in the 90s that were launched. Next, a special focus on the studies of slums. Why? Because the overall hygiene condition there is not good. The basic amenities in slums are not proper. Even there are a lot of kacha houses, or you can say dilapidated houses in a slum, which needs special attention. So, what are the various types of programs in that? What can be done for the betterment of slums and slum board and improvement act, etc.? We will be looking into this. Next is affordable housing. Now, we can say that a major contributor to housing shortage is the reason that housing in general is not affordable to a lot of people. Okay. Now, with respect to this, what can be done? First of all, what are the various schemes that have been launched, and what are the various standards that are there with respect to the economic sections? We will be focusing on that part under affordable housing. Next, 5-year plans. Now, this can be very theory intensive, the 5-year plans, but we must go through them in detail. A lot of times, direct match the following questions have been asked with respect to, okay, maybe they give a 5-year program, for example, the second 5-year program or the third 5-year program, and with respect to that, in the match the following kind of question, they ask what happened in that 5-year plan. For example, some program came, or maybe HUDCO was launched, NHB was established, and so on. So we need to know what all major events happened, or major acts or programs were established or passed during that particular 5-year plan. Now, NBC standards and URDPFI standards. With respect to, for example, NBC standards can be with respect to what is the area of a habitable room, what is the minimum, you can say, length of a bathroom, or the minimum dimension of a kitchen, and so on. These kind of standards we'll be looking into. And then with respect to URDPFI standards, we will be looking into what kind of amenity can be given with respect to X population. For example, we know that any amenity needs to be dependent upon its threshold, or the population that we are giving that amenity for. For example, in elementary school, we can say one elementary school should be given for every 2,500 population, or let's say one secondary school for every 5,000 population. So these kind of standards we will be looking into under URDPFI. Okay. Now, beginning with housing as a sector, what to understand from housing? First of all, how can we judge a particular area based on the housing condition of that particular area? First of all. Second, we will also try to understand what all factors we need to consider while understanding or studying housing. Okay, and a little bit of history of that as well. So, beginning with what housing of a particular area tells us about that region or that neighborhood. Can you tell me? Correct. We are able to understand the growth of that particular area. We are able to understand the development of that particular area, or we are able to understand the overall, let's say, income or finances of that particular area. Okay, how developed that area is. So, for example, we see good houses, we see good apartments. Not a lot of houses are of the dilapidated condition. Maybe you have enough parking, maybe you have good open spaces, good access roads, etc. Okay, this is what tells us about the overall development and growth of that particular area. Let's say if there are a lot of slums, or let's say there are a lot of houses that are dilapidated in nature, or let's say there is condition A and condition B. In condition A, on an average, 30 meter square carpet area is the house, you can say, size, or the ownership condition is such that on an average 30 meter square is owned by per person. And in another scenario, let's say 90 meter square is the average size of a house. Based on this, can you tell me which is a better scenario, or in which area or neighborhood the development is proper, or with respect to the finances of the municipal corporation as well as the people residing over there? Yes, you will be able to judge. Now, based on the amenities that are there in that particular area, also amenities with respect to housing. For example, water supply, electricity, parking, open spaces, green spaces, etc. Based on these amenities also, you will be able to judge a particular area. Okay, next. Okay, we will go through a few terms that are very essential for us to understand the next topic. Okay, for example, what is a site? Now, as planners, as architects, you often use this word. What is site? Okay, it is a land parcel, but it has to be a land parcel with boundary. Otherwise, we cannot call it as a site. So, a land parcel that has boundary, or any land parcel with boundary can be called as site. Next, what is a building? Okay, it is a structure. What else? Just a structure cannot make a building. Yes, a structure with the basic amenities. So, you can write down structure with basic amenities. For example, plumbing. For example, plumbing lines, sewerage system, etc. Next, building line and control line. This should be talked about together. So, what happens is, let's say this is a plot. Okay, and let's say this is another same kind of plot. In one, we'll try to understand the building line, and in another, we'll try to understand the control line. Let's say this is a residential area, and let's say this is a commercial area. Okay, in residential area, I am saying that this is my building line, and in commercial area, I am saying this is the control line. Now, logically speaking, this is very appropriate. Why? Because we need more area in the front part with respect to commercial area, because there is going to be a lot of footfall in that area. Let's say in public, semi-public area as well. For example, a school, a hospital, or maybe a mall. We need a lot of space here. Okay, for example, we can okay, we need a lot of area in this. Why? Because we want to accommodate a lot of people, and we want to accommodate a lot of vehicles over there. Okay? Now, in residential area, yes, there are going to be guests. Yes, there are going to be a lot of people residing in that particular township. But compared to this commercial area, we can say that even this kind of a setback, or this kind of a space left between the compound wall, or between the starting of the plot and the place from where the building is going to be constructed, this is enough with respect to that. But we need more space in case of commercial and public areas. So this is your building line, and this is your control line. Overall, the definition is the same. An imaginary line that you can draw after leaving the front setback, beyond which no permanent construction is allowed. Okay, so this is one imaginary line that you can draw after leaving the front setback, beyond which no permanent construction is allowed. Same here also, an imaginary line that is drawn after leaving the front setback, beyond which no permanent construction is allowed. Just the difference is with respect to the typology that we are using it for, and your control line, or the front setback for the control line, is more than or greater than your building line. Next, what is ground coverage? For example, let me say this is the plot area that I have. Now, how will you say this is the ground coverage, or how will you define a ground coverage in that case? Okay, maybe you can say just the building footprint or the area under the building footprint. Okay, so this can be denoted in terms of area, that is meter square, or it can also be denoted in terms of percentage. 50% is the ground coverage, or let's say 100 meter square is the ground coverage, and so on. Next, FSI and FAR, it is one and the same thing. What is that? Basically a factor or a constant that is there. So FSI or FAR is nothing but the built up area divided by the plot area. Okay, and this particular factor or this particular index is called as FSI. Okay, now this can be, if you go through the previous year question papers, you will see that it can be denoted in two forms. One can be in terms of 100, for example, 250, 100, 300, etc. One can be in the form of single digit, that is, for example, 1, 1.5, 2, etc. Okay, it is one and the same thing. It's not that FAR means we have to denote it as 100, FSI means we need to denote it as single digit. It is not like that. It is one and the same thing. Just one thing you have to keep in mind, whenever you get a numerical, you have to convert it to the single digit form. That's it. Okay, overall, it is the same thing. Next, setback and setback line. Now, setback is what? The margin or the space that you leave from the plot. Okay, so for example, this is the plot that we are considering, and the same, this is the building that is there. So this is, let's say, the space that we are living in front. This is the space that we are living on sides, and this is the space that we are living on the rear area. So this becomes the front setback, side setback, and rear setback. Okay, again, with respect to the building line, setback can also be called the space that is left, or imaginary, you can say imaginary line that is drawn after leaving the setback becomes your setback line. And the space that you are leaving from either one side or two sides or all the four sides, and saying that beyond this particular line, setback line, no permanent construction is allowed. Okay, now this is given to ensure there is proper light and ventilation in that particular area, and in general to control the development in that particular plot. Now this entire ownership can be private, okay, but still certain kind of regulations needs to be there so that the development is controlled and there is proper light and ventilation in that particular area. Okay, so setback line can be on all the four sides. In building line and control line, we usually talk about the front line or the front setback. Here the setback line can be on all the four sides, first of all. And again, it is one imaginary line beyond which no permanent construction is allowed. Let's move on to the DCR and built up area calculations. What is DCR? Development control regulations that we need to keep in mind for calculating the built up area of any given project or any given land parcel or site. Okay, where do we begin? First of all, what is built up area? You can say a sum of all the floor areas or a sum of all the built spaces that is including your brickwork. So carpet area including your brickwork can be your built up area. Now in gate architecture, there are some assumptions that we usually keep in mind. Okay. For example, we say that all the floors will have the same area. Okay. So if we calculate area for ground floor multiplied by the number of stories, we will get the entire built up area. We do not take into consideration the projections, or we do not take into consideration the elevation that can differ from floor to floor. Okay, that is one assumption that we usually take. Now, this directly gives us one formula with respect to built up area, which is what? Area on ground floor multiplied by number of floors. Okay. Now, this area on ground floor, can we also call it as ground coverage? Now, this ground coverage is usually expressed in the form of percentage. Okay. In the question, it can be given in the form of percentage, or sometimes you can be even asked to calculate ground coverage in terms of percentage. Okay. It can also be in terms of meter square, as we've already discussed, but in GATE, we usually talk about ground coverage in case of percentage. Now, how do we calculate that? For example, the plot is 1,000 meter square. Okay, and we say that 60% is the ground coverage. What do we do? 60% of plot area is equals to my ground coverage in meter square. Okay? Percentage से if you want to convert it to meter square, you directly write it as 60%. Cent is 100 multiplied by the plot area. So here we have it as 600 directly. This is how you should be calculating or converting the ground coverage from one form to the other. Next, in case of FSI also, we used the built up term, which was what? Built up area divided by the plot area is your FSI. Okay? Now, if I rearrange these terms, can I get a formula for built up area? FSI or FAR multiplied by plot area. Okay, FSI should be in terms of single digit always, not in terms of 100, 250, 300 and so on. So it should be in terms of single digit. Another thing, if the built up area is in terms of hectare, you take the plot area also in terms of hectare. If this is in terms of meter square or acre, you have to take this as well in terms of meter square or acre or feet square, whatever the unit is. The unit for both of these should be same. If the unit is not the same, you have to do conversion, which is what? 10,000 meter square is equals to 1 hectare. Okay, and 4046.86 meter square is equals to 1 acre. Okay, this is very important. This will be helpful for you to solve all types of housing numericals. Okay, density, built up area, or your housing shortage, dwelling unit calculations, etc. Okay. Okay. Now let us take an example. Now built up area can be calculated with respect to both these formulas. Which built up area should we consider? Okay. To understand this, let us take a few examples. Okay. Plot area for all of these are same. This is project number A. project number B, project number C. ठीक है. Plot area is the same for all. Let's consider it to be 1000 meter square again for ease of calculation. This is 1000 meter square. Okay. Now, in scenario number 1, I give you FSI is equals to 2. Here FSI is equals to 1. Here FSI is equals to 2.5. ठीक है. Second, I give you the ground coverage is equals to 50%. Here I give you ground coverage as 60%, and here I give you ground coverage as 30%. Next, let's say that there is a height restriction over here, and the height restriction is 2 floors. Okay, here also we have height restriction. Height restriction is of 5 floors, and here we do not have any height restriction. Now try and calculate the built-up area for all these scenarios. It should not take you more than 3 minutes to solve these kind of easy questions. Okay, how do you do it? First, you try to find the built-up area by formula 1, that is FSI multiplied by FSI multiplied by plot area. Then you try to find out built-up area with the formula of ground coverage multiplied by number of floors. Okay, same goes for B and same goes for project number C. Okay, what do we have? First, FSI is 2. Plot area, we have it as 1000 meter square. So we have the built up in case number 1 by formula number 1 as 2000 meter square. Next, ground coverage is what? 50%. So first of all, 50% of 1000 is 500 meter square. This is my ground coverage. Now calculating the built up is equals to ground coverage multiplied by number of floors. Ground coverage is 500 multiplied by number of floors is 2. Okay, so answer is 1000 meter square. 2000 in this case, 1000 in this case. Let us solve for project number B, and then let us try to understand which out of these we should choose. Next, FSI is 1 multiplied by plot area is 1000. So my built up is directly 1000 meters square. Okay. Next, ground coverage is 60% of 1000. So it is 600 multiplied by number of floors is 5. So this gives me 3000. So 3000 meters square as the answer. Here we have 1000. Here we have 3000. Next. For scenario number C, I have the FSI as 2.5 and the plot area as 1000. So built up area is equals to FSI multiplied by the plot area. So this gives me 2500 meters square. Okay. Next, ground coverage is going to be 300, but there is no height restriction over there. So by this formula, we need not calculate the built up area, and the only built up area that we have is 2500, and we can directly take this as the final answer or take this directly as the built up area. Okay. Now, in scenario number A and scenario number B, what is changing and what should we take as the built up area? Okay. Let's say we take 2000 meter square as the built up area. Okay. The ground coverage allowed is 50%, so 500. How will the construction in this case be like? Okay. Let me draw it over here. Let's say this is the ground line. Okay. I have built 500 meter square here, another 500 meter square here, another 500 meter square over here. ठीक है? Till here, till ground and G+1, it is okay. But then, if I build for the second floor, my FSI or my height restriction is not allowing me to build above 2 floors. Okay, so till here it is okay, till here it is okay. Now the authorities will come and say the height restriction was 2 floors. How come you're building this particular story? Okay, this is not permitted, not allowed. So you are left with just these 2 floors. Okay, so you have to choose 1000 meter square. Even if the FSI is allowing you to build 2000, you cannot choose it. Okay, the second one. Let's say we are choosing this 1000. Okay, let's say this is the ground line. On the ground we can build 600 meters, so this is 600. Then I build another let's say another 600 over here. Okay, I can go further up. I can choose to build up to 3000, but the height restriction is 5 floors. I can keep on building, but the people will come and say that, oh, FSI was 1, how come you are utilizing more than that? Okay, so on this particular floor, you will be able to build. On the first floor, you are able to build 600. On the next floor, you can build up to 400. Now, this comes to a total of 1000 meters square, and that is what the FSI is allowing you to go ahead with. Now, a little confusion over here. In the first case, we chose the FSI. In the we chose the ground coverage and number of floors. In the second stage or in the second case, we are choosing 1000, that is with respect to FSI. So in exam, which one to go forward with? You go ahead with whichever is the minimum. Okay, you do not choose one over the above, that okay, every time I have to go by FSI or every time I have to go by number of floors. That is not the case. You choose whichever is the minimum. Now, what is the reason behind choosing whichever is the minimum? The reason is there are a lot of development control regulations in a particular area. Okay? You have to go ahead with the built up area which is going to satisfy or which is going to get a tick mark for all the regulations. That is important. Okay? You have to follow the FSI, you have to follow the ground coverage rule, you have to follow the height restriction as well. So whichever area that follows all these restrictions, you go ahead with that. And this is usually the minimum one. Okay, 1000 may it is satisfying FSI, it is satisfying ground coverage, and it is satisfying the height restriction. Okay, if you go ahead with the height restriction and keep on building the number of floors, FSI will not be satisfied. Similarly, if the FSI is or the height restriction is very less, the FSI allows you to build, let's say, 10 floors, but there will be some kind of a height restriction. So the minimum built up area or the minimum number is always going to satisfy all these norms. Okay, so now the process one by one. Step number 1 is, or let us write it down. Step number 1, you calculate the built up area based on FSI and plot area. Okay, then you calculate based on the ground coverage and the height restriction. Okay, next you choose the built up area whichever is minimum out of the two. Okay, this is how you solve these questions. Now, this slide shows the entire built up calculation in one go. This is the formula for total built up area, FAR multiplied by plot area, then total built up area multiplied by ground coverage and number of floors. Then it also gives you what you have to keep in mind. Whatever the built up area may be, it must satisfy all the mentioned norms, FAR or FSI, ground coverage, setbacks if given. Sometimes ground coverage is not given to you and sometimes setback is given to you. For example, 60% is the ground coverage. In the second option, it can be 3 meter is the front setback, 2 meter are the side setbacks and 3 meter is the rear setback, something like that. So it must satisfy that also in case it is given. Next, if there is any height restriction given, we have to go ahead with that. Okay. Let's try to solve some previous year question papers. Now, what you have to do is first you read the question very carefully, okay, and write whatever is being given to you. Now, these steps go, goes for any kind of calculation that you are doing for housing. First of all, you read the question carefully and you write down the given. The given must always be written with its units. Okay. Once you have all the units written, you also write down what you have to find out. For example, FSI is given is equals to dash. Ground coverage is equals to dash. Built up area is equals to dash meter square or hectare or acre, whatever has been mentioned in the question. It will always be mentioned. Okay? Calculate the built up area in acres or calculate the built up area in meter square. Mostly it is mentioned. Okay? So you write down this as well in the given portion. Then what you do, if there are any conversions needed, okay. In this case, let's say from percentage to meter square, from hectare to meter square or meter square to hectare, whatever the case may be, you do all the calculations or the conversions that are needed. The next thing that you do is write down all the formulae with respect to the given. Okay, you will understand what is it asking, what kind of data has been given to you. Okay, based on that, whatever formula you can think of, you write it down and then you start solving it. Okay, in this portion, when you are solving it, you follow the three steps that we've spoken about in the previous slide. You first try to find out built up by FSI, then you try to find out the built up by ground coverage and height restriction, then you choose the minimum out of that and then you get the answer. Okay. The question, a plot of land measuring 25 into 40 meter has a ground plus 4-story building with uniform floor areas. Now here it's been mentioned that there are uniform floor areas. Many a times that won't be mentioned, okay, and that is something that you have to assume. Next, if the land has been utilized to its fullest FAR, matlab whatever the FAR was given to you for that particular plot, you utilize it completely. There is no scope of TDR in this. Okay. Now many a times this also will not be given and it is something that you have to assume. Next, the FAR is 250. Calculate the permissible ground coverage in percentage. Okay. Follow these steps and try to solve it. Now, for your practice, it's okay if even if you're taking, let's say, 6 minutes, 7 minutes in the first question, let's say 5 minutes, something like that, 4 minutes in the next question. That is okay when you're practicing or you're solving it for the first times. But please, you have to make sure in the exam you are not taking more than 2 minutes or 3 minutes for these kind of questions. That is usually the time limit that is given for any kind of numerical or question in your exam. Okay. Please solve this and let me know the answer in the chat box. Okay. Let us solve this together. Okay, first we have to write the given, then conversions, formulae, and solving. I hope you've already written this down. I'm erasing it and I'm solving the question over here. Now, this is one of the easiest questions that can be asked to you with respect to this concept. Okay, what is given? A plot of 25 multiplied by 40 meter. Okay, then number of floors is been given. Now, height restriction is not been given, but number of floor has been given. Okay, so that is something that we can take into account for our calculations. Next, FAR has been given as 250. Ground coverage we have to find out. Now let's do all the conversions or all the calculations that are needed at this stage. First of all, plot area 25 by 40 meter gives you 1000 meter square. Next, number of floors is G plus 4, that is 5 number of floors. Next, FAR is 250, but we know that we have to convert it into single digits. So 2.5. Okay, then ground coverage is something that we have to find out at this stage. Write dash percentage, so that you remember you have to convert it into percentage, the answer that you are going to get in meter square. Okay, this is the first step where you write the given. Second step, when you do all the conversions or all the necessary calculations, here hectare, acre, that kind of complication is not there, so no conversions needed. Second, we write down all the formulae that are there. Okay, so built up area is equal to FSI multiplied by plot area. Okay, next, built up area is equals to ground coverage multiplied by number of floors. Okay, so built up area by FSI 2.5 multiplied by plot area is 1000 meter square. So this is 2500 meter square. Next, ground coverage we have to find out. Number of floors we have been given, but the built up area we have just found out. Okay, so we can utilize this or we can substitute this number for built up area and find out the ground coverage. So 2500 is equals to ground coverage multiplied by number of floors, that is 5. This gives us the ground coverage as 2500 divided by 5, which is 500. But our answer does not end here. We have to convert it into percentage. So how do we do it? 500 meter square is the ground coverage is equals to X percentage. This is percentage of what? It is percentage of plot area. Okay. So you can write it as 500 divided by plot area, that is 1000, multiplied by 100 because you want to convert it to percentage. So you get the answer as 50%. This is your final answer and this is what you are going to input in the answer as NAT. Okay, I hope the overall concept is clear to you. Please solve the next question that is displayed on the board. Okay, let's read the question and try to understand what is given. A developer would like to select a residential plot of 3000 square meter for a group housing in a city. So there are various plots, various options that he has, and he wants to select a residential plot of 3000 square meter. Okay. Now different options varying development controls are given in this particular table. It has been given. Next, in every group housing plot, 15% of floor area ratio or FAR over and above the maximum permissible area or the maximum permissible FAR has to be utilized for EWS units. Okay, so these kind of incentives usually the government gives, okay, to increase the housing stock for EWS and LIG. Next, the maximum built up area in meter square available from the options given below is what? Now in this question it has been mentioned that you have to find out the maximum built up area, okay, but let's say if it was not given, again you can assume that the developer is going to choose the plot which is going to give him the maximum built up area. Why? He is in this business for some kind of a profit. Okay, so how he will gain this profit? By selling these units. The maximum built up area that he will have is directly proportional to the maximum number of units that he will be able to sell, and that is directly proportional to the kind of profit that he is going to make. So even if this was not mentioned that you have to find out the maximum build up area, and if the question was given that which out of the following plots will you choose, okay, it is one and the same thing. You will choose that plot which is giving the maximum built up area. Okay, now let us try and understand this question in terms of numbers. Now there is project A, B, C and D, okay, in which ground coverage in percentage has been given and FAR has been given. So the first one, it is 30% with 1.5 FAR. Next is 20% with 2 FAR. Next 40% with 2 FAR and 15% with 3 FAR. Now which one are you going to choose? Okay, this is very easy. You do not have to consider the ground coverage at all, because remember there was this C kind of project that we saw in our practice question, where if there is no height restriction, we do not have to take the ground coverage into consideration at all. How? Let's say 3000 is the total built up area available to us, and let's say 500 is the ground coverage. Okay? There is no height restriction in this case. This is the ground line. I build 500 here, I build another 500 here, another 500. I can keep on building these 500 meter square floor till I reach the maximum 3000 meter square. There is nothing to restrict me. Okay, so the maximum FSI will directly give you the maximum built up area without even thinking twice. You do not have to consider the ground coverage, because because height restriction is not being given to you. Now out of all these four options, what do you choose? You choose the option or the project which has the maximum FAR, that is option number 4. Okay? Now as a trick, if there is something very complicated given in your exam, know that there should be some kind of a trick, something complicated or something that is going to utilize a lot of time. For example, you calculate for option 1, you calculate for option 2, 3, 4 by, let's say, all the formulas, all the methods, and then you choose one. Then after choosing one, you have to calculate the built up area. Okay? That will take, let's say, 6 to 7 minutes to solve this. That is not something that the GATE exam is looking for. Okay? So based on that also, this is a trick that you can basically follow in your exam, that some kind of a simplification can be done easily. It should not take such a lengthy calculation for me to get to the answer. Okay. Now let us try to find out the maximum built up area for this. Height restriction is not to be considered. Ground coverage is not to be considered. So only formula that we are going to use is built up area is equal to FSI multiplied by plot area. Okay. What is given? FSI is 3, but over and above 3, 15% has to be utilized for EWS category. So FAR is equals to 3 and FAR dash or the revised FAR is 15% of 3 plus 3. Okay, 15% of FAR over and above the maximum FAR. Okay, so this gives me 3.45 as the revised FAR. Now I use this for calculating the built-up. That is 3.45 multiplied by 3000. Okay, what does this give me? 3000 multiplied by 3.45. 10350. This is my answer for this question. Okay, so I hope you will be able to solve all the questions related to FAR and FSI without any help now. Please be very attentive. Please read the question very carefully, and for your practice, please follow the steps that I have given you. Write down what is given, do any kind of conversions that is needed, then you write all the formulae, then you start solving it. Okay. Please solve all the practice questions that will be given to you based on this concept. We'll meet for the next class.
KP Classes, dedicated to excellence.